What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Making Podcasts Great Again. I am your tech stuff guy, Jay Nog, and we are here, of course, with the President of the United States of Mar-a-Lago of America, Mr. Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, how are you today?
I was sort of tired tech stuff because we had one of I don't, we have Patreon patriots and we have Mapiggers. And the Patreon patriots last night were treated to probably the strongest, maybe not overall episode, but we had a moment. We had a moment last night on the Strong Patreon episode it's sort of amazing that, we've been doing the show 40, maybe 45 years.
Something
And
like that.
this might have been the most powerful moment. And I mean, everybody was it was patriotism, it was tech. We were talking about tech
Hmm.
and AI, and it was a strong moment. And it's so sad that there's so many Democrats who probably listen to the show and want the free handouts and don't have jobs and don't support their president or their podcast. But the people that do, boy, were they treated. And so
Yes.
we were up late celebrating. When we have a particularly strong podcast episode at Mar-a-Lago, we end up having um, we have a celebration. With Roger Stone's wife. You know, comes in and it's a very you know it's a very beautiful thing. We call her the soundboard because so many things get plugged into her. So like we call it a soundboard party with Roger Stone's wife. And that's how when we have a very strong podcast, we have an after party at Mar-a-Lago with the soundboard herself, Roger Stone's wife. Oh, I've never learned her first name. And I feel like that's very respectful to just refer to a woman
As
as
the soundboard.
a soundboard or as her husband's wife.
Well, I always thought that she needed prep for these parties. I didn't know that you can just at a whim just say, let's have one of these parties and she's ready to go.
Tech stuff, when your number is in the 5 digits, you're always ready to go. You're always primed.
Well, Mr. President, lots of news I want to discuss with you. First, let's just you visited East Palestine, Ohio.
It's pronounced Palestine.
Okay.
They don't want to be confused with Middle Eastern people or Jewish people. They're very strong MAGA, and somebody actually, it was very patriotic. Somebody on my team, I had to reprimand them and fire them. They said, "We are very proud to visit you in East Palestine." And one of these strong MAGA people in the town said, "We ain't no Jews, it's Palestine."
Is
And
that a
then
quote? We ain't no Jews.
I slapped, well, that's what it sounded like. That might have been me saying that actually. But I slapped the staff member and fired them immediately.
Well, that's very progressive of you. I wanted to ask, what was your purpose of the visit? I know Sleepy Joe has not been there. It took Pete Buttigieg, I think, 20 days to get over there. Um, Campaign spot, was that planned or just
It's just interesting because Pete Buttigieg is obviously too woke and too radical left. Just because the town's saying is, and I'm not going to say the word because we don't want to get canceled, but F words not allowed. That's the town motto.
mhm.
And maybe that might have scared off Pete Buttigieg, but it didn't scare me off. I went there very strongly. Sleepy Joe is sleeping, even though he loves trains, even though he's basically Thomas the Train Engine, but the sleepy version. Like, hey kids, do you like Thomas isn't that it? The Thomas the Train?
This Thomas the train. There's a few trains. He'd be the sleepy train.
Right. It's we have the worker train, we have the awake train, and here you go. For nighttime, here's the Sleepy Joe train. And for Mr. Train to not visit is sort of that would be like if we had a real estate accident
Hmm.
and I didn't show up. It'd be extra insulting. But I visited very strongly because I knew it was a white town. and it was, I think it might have been a sundown town at one point, so we respect that. And basically, these were just, you know, white people who just they want to hold their guns, do their opioids, and vote for their president. And
True
that's not something
Americans.
the truest Americans. And this is something that the radical left doesn't like. They don't like it. They don't support it. So I said, let me go there. I'll bring them Trump water, which I sold to them at a discount, by the way.
That's nice.
Normally it's like $10 a bottle because it's premium water. I
Mhm.
sold it to them for $9.50 a bottle.
Well, you're a sport. That's very nice of you, especially in this tragedy, giving back.
And we went through, we met them, we said hi, we didn't shake hands, many of them are disgusting people. And you get emotional when you think about these great Americans. And
When
I
you say
think
they're disgusting people, you get emotional.
it's just very sad to see that a fake president like Sleepy Joe, who loves trains, can't even go to visit East Jerusalem, Ohio. And it's sad. And they needed a real president, and that's what they got. That's what they got. They got me showing up strongly, throwing water at them, uh, just being there. I didn't pray with them, but I watched some of them prayed and said, good prayer. And we just it was very important. And I could see I lifted their spirits. And a few of the hotter women, there weren't many, but a few of them I lifted their skirts.
That's nice.
So, it's about lifting spirits and lifting skirts. And that's in East Tel Aviv, Pennsylvania.
Now, I don't know if you met anyone there specifically, but there was a gentleman on the news who was exposed to these chemicals, had trouble breathing, and his voice changed to sound like Mickey Mouse. Did you happen to meet this gentleman?
We did. We nicknamed him Nutless
That's a nice nickname.
because I think the chemicals burned off his nuts and it made him sound very high pitched. And you never heard that during my presidency. You never heard of somebody losing their testicles during the Trump administration. And under
Never.
Sleepy Joe, it's sack destruction Joe. Sleepy Sack Destroyer. That's what you can put that as a title, maybe. Sleepy Sack Destroyer, excuse me, Destroyer. And it's a disgrace. And you have men walking around like that. Now, of course, I noticed that he had a wife who was very disappointed in the fact that he lost his testicles. And she had very large breasts. I don't know if that's a side effect of opioids and meth, because I think she was on both. But we ended up having a strong patriotic. What's it called when a woman smushes her breasts against your member and
Not a motorboat.
motorboat's the face.
Right.
But,
Oh, that's not a Roman war helmet. No.
there's a crude term for it, but we will call it a breasty sexy.
Breasty sexy.
We'll use the scientific terms.
I like that.
And so I thought that was so important, because imagine you lose everything. You lose your home, your lungs are making you sound like Mickey Mouse, your testicles are falling off. But your president comes to save the day, giving you discounted Trump water, and breasty sexy's your wife.
I mean, that's a good deal. It's
It's
a great deal,
called
actually.
It's called inspiration.
Not diplomacy.
Wahoo.
Okay. Now, you made this visit there. Our president Biden didn't go, but you went.
Yeah,
and
we do
SNL,
prayers.
yes.
We do strong prayers for Cairo, Michigan, and everybody there that's suffering.
Now, I don't know why, since you did something so selfless, that Saturday Night Live had a cold open ripping you for your visit. Did you happen to see it?
And do you see the guy doing he leans into the grill. I don't growl. Excuse me, I don't growl. I don't growl. I may go, as my African American, but I don't go. And then we're in,
No.
you know, we're in Afghanistan, Minnesota, with all these people who've been damaged. We don't do the, we don't do it's called it, we don't do this. That's how the guy, he sounds like that would be like me if I had a sore throat and had a stroke, talking out of one side of my mouth. That's not how I sound. That's not how I sound. But Saturday Night Live is desperate for relevance. They have no relevance. They have no talent. And it's sad. It's sad that they notice they don't go after Sleepy Joe because they know everybody still wants to see Trump. Everybody wants Trump. And it's
Hmm.
so pathetic that they can't even go after Pete Buttigieg or Corny Booker or Sleepy Joe or fake Dr. Joe Biden or Koala Bear Harris. They don't go after any of these people. I wonder why. It's called white racism. It's called racism against whites, which is why Sleepy Joe hasn't gone to the mega town of the town. Cabo, Illinois.
Yeah, I just don't understand why SNL would rip you since you were giving your time and going to this
And
this
they don't care.
tragedy. It's
Just
it's
because
really
it's an Illinois town, they don't care about Tehran, Missouri. And the sad thing that happened to those people, because they're white, they don't care. And it's called racism. Just because the town's name is F words, keep out. Okay. They don't realize that
Mhm.
those are real Americans. And it's very sad. And I hope Breasty Sexy at least cheered up one family. And I would do it. Trust me, there weren't a lot of lookers in the town. They were mostly very ugly people. But
Mm.
if they had more hot women, I would have spread more presidential joy.
Now, Mr. President, I wanted to talk to you. Ron DeSantis
We call him
had
Ron
an
Disloyal on this show. We call him Ron Disloyal.
okay. Ron Disloyal had an
Who's
event
that?
in Florida. Ron
Who's who's
Disloyal.
who's that?
You want me to say his real name?
Well, is his real name? If you're telling me about somebody I've never heard of, Ron Disloyal, who is that?
Ron DeSantis.
Excuse me, I think I said not to say that name.
Ron Disloyal.
No idea who that is, but keep going.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he 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 had an event at the Four Seasons, which was a few miles away from Mar-a-Lago, which
He should have an event at Fat Seasons because he's a dumpy piece of shit.
well, it was at the Four Seasons, which is a few miles away from Mar-a-Lago. Do you think that was done on purpose to basically be in your backyard and hold an event there? Yes.
I think he wants to remind people. It's because he's a very uncharismatic, fat, short turd.
Mm.
So I think he can't survive. He's like a parasite. He's one of these animals that, oh, I do nothing, but I hang by the whale. And I get like when the whale farts, I eat that for nourishment. That's what Ron DeSantis is. He's just a
He's a bottom
parasite.
feeder. He's a
He's
bottom
a
feeder.
real, we've already had a bottom as vice president with gay Mike Pence. But with Ron DeSantis, you're right, he's a bottom feeder. And he hangs around because without me, nobody would care. So he has to be close to me to remind people of, remember, it was a superstar president, very talented patriot who made me what I am. So I don't want you to forget that I'm connected to Trump, but then I want you to forget Trump. It's a sad, pathetic, disloyal, fat thing for Ron Disloyal to do.
Right. He's trying to keep your essence near him for attention, basically, but doesn't want you near him. Is that accurate?
That's actually the first accurate thing you've said, maybe all year. That's exactly what he's doing. He's sort of like almost like he wants Trump perfume or Trump cologne, but then to say, no, I'm fat Ron Disloyal, please, I'm a very good governor. But get a whiff of that Trump cologne. Doesn't that smell like success and power? It's pathetic. And on the debate stage, I will beat him so bad. It will be so sad. It will be so sad. when he gets up there with that sour milk voice and gets totally dominated.
Mr. President, at this Disloyal event, there were some former supporters of you who attended this event, and I want to name these people, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on them now, hearing that they went to this event, they are part of the Disloyals now. I'm going to start with Senator.
Sounds like the worst Marvel series. It's the Disloyals. Their superpower is very stupid disloyalty.
Senator Ron Johnson.
An old, miserable, white-haired piece of shit.
Well, he was there supporting the Disloyals. We have Arizona Republican Jim Lamon. He was a solar energy exec, a big donor of yours in 2020.
Okay, sounds like a rhino doing solar energy. I don't want solar energy. I want strong oil and coal. Coil. That's where we combine them. I want to do that. I want to actually do that. We're going to start a new industry, Trump Coil, where we put coal in a vat of oil and light it on fire.
Trump Coil, I like it. You're inventing a new natural resource.
Double the carbon, half the efficiency. Trump Coil. I get emotional just thinking about the energy dominance that we could have with coil.
Next person is Arkansas Senator Tim Cotton.
Well, it's Tom Cotton, and we call him...
Tom Cotton. I did write Tom. I just don't know how to read.
That's okay. You know what? You'd fit right in. You would fit in very strongly in a place called Tel Aviv, Arkansas, where those poor people at a train destroy their mobile homes. But Tom Cotton is a pencil-necked psychopath, and nobody likes him. That's the thing nobody ever talks about. He's the most unlikable person in the entire Senate, and that's saying something when you have Lion Ted Cruz. Tom Cotton is sort of like, he's like a nerd, but also, if you could have a school shooter get elected senator, that's the vibe I get off of pencil-neck Tom Cotton.
Jesus. Also, I don't know what your relationship with her is like, but she was also there. Ann Coulter.
Oh, this lanky Skeletor bitch has been, abandoned me a long time ago because she's always looking for the next. She wants to go viral. And by the way, if you look at her body, she looks like she went viral during the 80s from Tom Hanks in Philadelphia. She's a lanky, disgusting. She's probably blown Bill Maher, to be honest. So she probably, she's one of the nastiest, most disgusting fake Republicans I think we've ever seen. And that's me complimenting her. So you don't want to hear what I'd say if I was being nasty.
So she's a right-wing social climber?
Oh, she's like 8'3", so I don't know how much she has to climb. She's disgusting. It's like, you remember Pan's Labyrinth? Did you ever see this movie? It's called Pan's Labyrinth.
I didn't see
I didn't think you did, but some of our patrons.
I almost watched it on the plane. I almost watched it.
Well, you know what? She reminds me of the thing with the long hands, very scary monster. That's who Ann Coulter is. She's Pan's Coulter.
Two more names I have for you. And this next guy was your chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney. He was at this Disloyal rally as well.
Mick Mulvaney is basically sort of a roach with the lights on. He's always scampering for safety. He has no loyalty. He has no courage. So it doesn't surprise me that he'd be down talking to Ron Disloyal. And this is who he attracts. He attracts these like bottom-feeding fake Republicans. These Republicans who, when things are good, oh yeah, sure. and then they go running. And how do you build a campaign with endorsements from cowards?
You need loyal people. All your
Or at
people who
least
have had your
guts.
back never threw you under the bus ever.
You see Big Huck? Do you see Big Huck at Disloyal?
Nope.
No, you don't. No,
Nope.
you don't.
Now, the last name, this gentleman was part of your finance committee who helped raise funds for your campaign in 2020. Roy Bailey has now jumped ship.
Roy Bailey had the easiest job in the world, raising funds for the best president of all time. I mean, that's like, I don't like LeBron James. He's a very woke athlete. But you notice what LeBron James does? His agent is now dating Adele because his agent was his friend. And can you think of an easier job in the woke NBA than being LeBron James' agent? Oh, yes. We'll take all the money. I'm negotiating very strongly, sir. We'll take all the money for all the LeBron stuff. And then they go, we agree. And, oh, great job, agent. And this guy, Don Bailey.
Roy Bailey.
Beetle Bailey. We call him Beetle Bailey. Oh, wow. He raised money for Donald Trump, the most successful president in the history of our country. What a tough job that must have been. Hello, I represent Donald Trump, and then people just empty their wallets into your pocket. Wow, what a talent. So congratulations, Ron DeSantis. You've got a real G team of talent.
So those are all the names there. I think you have more. There were no rock stars there, no Kid Rock there. So I mean, no Charles in Charge there. So no celebrities there. So he hasn't gotten the celebrities at these events yet. And I'm wondering if any of people loyal to you will jump ship. Any celebrities?
No.
I hope not.
No, how can they? First of all, I'm the first celebrity president. When Ronald Reagan, they said, did some acting, but I was a much bigger celebrity than Ronald Reagan. He never had The Apprentice. And
Didn't.
why would a celebrity? I will leave the greatest president of all time, who also happens to be an A-list celebrity, to join a dumpy G-list piece of shit who's disloyal and has no charisma and has never been president. Wow, what a tough choice. What a tough choice. Who should I go with?
Now, if any of these people who I mentioned try to come back to your good graces, do you accept them back? Do you make them grovel back? Do you make them, I don't know, earn their way back? How do these people come back to Team Trump once Disloyal is defeated?
Well, Ann Coulter is never welcome back. She's been very rude and she's a woman. Everybody else would simply have to, and I love that this is the test, and nobody will tell you, but this is how so many people who are disloyal had to come back. We have Eric, who people tell me is a son. We have Eric eat Chipotle for 3 meals in a day and no hydration. And then he goes to the bathroom. And then if you want back in the Trump good graces, you've got to eat Eric's Chipotle ass. And only then are you granted forgiveness.
So fresh after the deuce, you have to eat his butt.
All
That's
up in
fair.
there.
That's totally fair. Now, Mr. President, two things on Fox. You were mad at Fox or Fox News for acknowledging Disloyal and that he exists. You don't think that that Fox has to cover multiple people in the Republican Party who want to become president?
We talked about Crystal's Marianne Williamson yesterday during the very exclusive Patreon event.
We did.
You don't see her getting a lot of coverage from the liberal fake news media. You know why? Totally irrelevant. She can run. Nobody cares. Totally irrelevant. what Fox is doing, it's going to divide our party and worse, divide the country and destroy our country. Because what's best for the country is that it's what Fox should be doing is sort of lubing. America is an asshole, and I'm gonna fuck it. And Fox should be doing strong lube. Like, here you go, sir. We've had an enema. We've done an enema, and we've got nice soft oils for you to just glide in and fill America with Trump goodness. When you introduce DeSantis with his sour voice, that's like replacing the lubricant, which is very strong, Trump lubricant, by the way. That's like replacing it with disloyal sandpaper. And as America, you wrap sandpaper around the Trump creamsicle and slide it into America. You know what you're doing? You're just making it rougher and more horrible. And I'm still going to be up in there. But now you've just added this DeSantis sandpaper, and America's bleeding, and they have to listen to him talk, and everybody's ears start bleeding along with the America's anus. And all of a sudden you have a country whose ears and buttholes are bleeding because you decided, oh, we have to be fair and introduce useless information. Whereas at least the fake news media knows to ignore useless candidates who will only distract from the sleeping Joe.
That makes sense.
It's called science.
Now, one other thing about Fox, they were very loyal to you, and it recently came out that a lot of the anchormen and people who work for Fox, their personalities, were kind of doing coverage about the election was stolen in 2020, but when the cameras were off, they were talking shit and saying they didn't believe you, and basically being two-faced. They're calling Sidney Powell crazy, and Tucker Carlson, all the personalities on Fox kind of being two-faced, and, on air reporting on your side, but then off air talking shit behind your back. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I've known for a while that Fox News had become disloyal, and that's why I started giving more time to Newsmax and OAN. And, OAN, Fox, when you're in their green room, they give you sort of snacks, and a nice receptionist walks in and says, how are you, sir? When you go to OAN, you have a threesome with two college Republicans, and anything goes. And I thought, well, I like this. I like the way OAN operates. And that's why Fox News, they realized too late, and they're getting sued very strongly. They realized too late that they had been stupid. They should have trusted Sidney Powell, who's a great lawyer. They should have trusted Rudy Giuliani. They should have trusted me above everybody else. And instead they didn't. And now they've gotten caught being two-faced. So I think it serves them right. And that's why I continue to go to OAN for strong threesome news coverage.
Well,
and that doesn't mean, by the way, that Dominion machines, they are run by Venezuela, and they do strong fraud, and they stole millions of votes from me, and they gave millions of votes to Sleepy Joe. That's just facts. Mike Lindell has all the facts. And instead, Fox played it both ways, and now they've been caught. So they lost Trump, they lost me to Newsmax and OAN, and now they're going to lose $1 billion, maybe more than $1 billion. So it's a lose-lose for Fox News. Bars.
So dumb. So dumb.
You stepped right over my bars.
Sorry.
I'll say it again. And that's a lose-lose for Fox News. Bars.
Good bars. My apologies for stepping on that. And Mr. President, we have a couple more stories to cover, but before that, this new sponsor is awesome. Are you wasting money on subscriptions? Because 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about. Maybe for you, it's an unused Amazon Prime account or a Hulu account that never gets streamed. There's this great app I use that helps me track all my expenses. And because of it, I no longer waste money on subscriptions. I've talked about this every week for the past month or two. You might have heard of it. It's called Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. Do you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions when the actual total is closer to like $200 plus. That's right. You could be wasting hundreds of dollars each month on subscriptions you don't even know about. And there's this app that I love using that takes care of that for me. It's called Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. And this app is awesome. Okay. Any subscription that you realize that you have that you don't want anymore, you just pressed cancel. That's it. You just press cancel. You don't have to email anyone. You don't have to call anyone. Rocket Money takes care of everything for you.
It is literally there's only one time that this podcast endorses cancel culture. Rocket Money can do cancel culture, and they do it better than just about. The left wishes they were this strong at cancel culture. That's how good Rocket Money is. The only cancel culture this podcast approves. It's so easy. And I will tell you, they didn't reach out to you because they don't respect tech stuff, but they respect presidents. I've had people from the show say that they've actually used it, and they were being double billed for things, and now they're not being. I mean, it's like the most simple thing. Like if you're not doing it, it's almost as bad as not giving us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Like, do this. It's simple. It might save you some money. There's no downside.
Get rid of useless subscriptions now with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/MPGA. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. It saved me hundreds of dollars before the holidays when I started using them. It's rocketmoney.com/MPGA. Cancel those unnecessary subscriptions right now at rocketmoney.com/MPGA. Also, if you missed our Perfect 10 live episode last night, like our president was saying, you missed a doozy there. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/MPGA. We have guests coming up this month for March. We have Elon Musk, and we do have Ron Disloyal is going to come on this podcast. He may have a pre-debate here. It's going to be exciting. Binge hundreds of hours of bonus contents. We have Fred Trump traditions. We have movie reviews. We have Kavanaugh's old show on here. Special guests we have on here. It is awesome, and hundreds of hours to binge, and all you have to do is pay $5. Starts at $5, and if you want the monthly live episode, go to $10 a month. It's patreon.com/MPGA. Honestly, whoever's joined, I've always gotten a message on Patreon saying thank you so much for all this extra content. It is awesome. I can't believe I waited this long to join. So join now. It's patreon.com/MPGA. Mr. President, do you remember this man's name, Frank Pavone? That ring a bell?
No, I have no idea who that is. Isn't that Sylvester Stallone's brother?
No, that's Frank Stallone. He was your Catholic advisor, and now he is involved in a sex scandal for making sexual advances and comments and groping and rubbing up against on women. And he's a director of a company called Priests for Life, which sounds so gangster, but is so not gangster. And isn't that strange that your Catholic advisor is now in trouble for sexual escapades?
Why would that be weird? They're always going after us tech stuff. It's the guy is a priest for Trump. The problem is not the priest, it's not the Catholic, it's the for Trump. If you had a group called Democrats for Trump, the Democrats would go after them. If you had Bidens for Trump, they'd go after the Bidens. This guy seems like a good guy. Okay. I've never heard of a priest doing anything sort of improper. And so now you tell me this priest is groping women. It's called laying on of hands. It's very spiritual. It's very religious. It's very, very pro-faith. And obviously some people, maybe you have these sort of fake Catholics and fake Christians that the Democrats love to bring out, like Sleepy Joe, who don't realize what the true religion is. Where you touch, you gotta make contact, and sometimes you have to penetrate the woman to get full spirituality.
Full God?
Who?
To get full God out of them?
That's right. You want to get, and you want to put full God in them. And it's the right understands this, that we understand strong faith, but the left, they pretend to be, they're not pro-gun like Jesus would have been. They're very pro helping the poor, which is not at all what Jesus stood for. So they have a very warped, disgusting sense that I think if Jesus were here today, he would probably purchase an AR-15 and start just gunning down left-wing fake Christians. And I don't say that, I'm not rooting for that. I'm saying what I think he would do based on my very strong understanding of the church and of Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mr. President, 2 more stories.
I'll allow you to have one more story. I'm very tired.
You only want to do one more story?
Well, why don't you do this? We'll do multiple choice. What are the 2 stories? Say the topics.
One is Bryan Cranston, and
Yes.
Okay, we'll do that one then.
What's
we could
the
save
other
this one for another time. It's Georgia.
No.
Okay. Now, Bryan Cranston, probably starring one of the best series ever on TV, Breaking Bad.
It's
Fine
called
actor.
Yellowstone. Yellowstone's
Okay.
actually the best TV ever. Apprentice and Yellowstone were the right answers to that question.
Okay. My apologies. Apprentice, Yellowstone, and then Breaking Bad.
What if we did Yellowstone, The Apprentice Yellowstone?
Where they had everything in like the Old West.
Well, I have to pick, you have to be a businessman cowboy.
I like that. Let's do it. Bring it back. A little remix of The Apprentice. Well, Bryan Cranston is saying that if you affiliate with being MAGA and saying MAGA, then you are a racist.
Well,
by saying making America great again, you are saying something racist, is what he's trying to tell people.
Isn't that sad?
It's
Isn't
very
that
strange.
sad? Just because you want to make the country the way it was in the 1950s, all of a sudden that's racist. I remember in the 1950s when I was a young, tall, very strong boy, walking around with Fred Trump. And it was beautiful back then because we had some black servants. They had to use a different, they had to come in the back way and they weren't allowed into most of the rooms. But I remember, you should have seen how happy that my father would make them beg for a day off. And sometimes he would give them a day off, and you should have seen how happy they were to get a day off. Does that seem like that was when America was great again? You should have seen the gratitude. I remember my father used to go to what's it called, with the brothel. He would go to a brothel. And he wasn't racist. In fact, many of the whores were African American. And he wouldn't tip them, but he would use them.
It's nice of him.
And they enjoyed it. They would say, "Oh, this is great, Mr. Trump." And a whore during sex never lies. That's one thing that my father taught me very strongly. That's why I know melatonin.
Is that a famous Fred Trump quote? Is that a famous Fred Trump quote?
It really is. And it's that's why I know melatonin is always satisfied. And so now, granted, I think it was a brothel. In fact, it may have not even been a brothel. How about that? It might have just been he secretly allowed some black families to stay in his building because he had a strong policy that it wasn't allowed. And now that I'm remembering correctly, it wasn't a brothel. he would accept sex instead of rent.
Ah,
So when the African American families couldn't pay, he would tell the family, I need a few minutes with your mom and rent will be taken care of. And imagine that. Imagine how great America was back in the 50s when you didn't even have to pay rent to Fred Trump. You could just pay with, unprotected sex in your apartment while your husband and kids had to wait outside the door. It wasn't, and all of a sudden, just because the 1950s were full of extorting sex from people of color and having borderline slave labor do your tasks at the back entrance to your home, all of a sudden, oh no, that was racist if you think that was great. No, that was when America was great, and all we wanted to do was make it great again. So, Brian Cranston, you're a breaking bum, and you're totally wrong, and you should go back to selling meth. And this isn't that funny? The man, he made and sold meth, and I know it because half of the people in what was the place
Cairo.
in Jordan,
Okay.
in Jordan, Alabama, where the train derailed. They Riyadh, excuse me. It was Riyadh, South Carolina. They it was a totally it was so sick. It was I saw those people on meth. And I thought, Brian Cranston has the guts and the insanity to question whether MAGA is a racist statement when he was selling meth to all these people. So I don't think we need to listen to what Brian Cranberry says.
Well, that's a good point there, Mr. President. And we
That
we
was
are
almost that was almost a sneak Fred Trump tradition, by the way. It wasn't quite, but all these people who don't support their president's show with Patreon. I mean, they
it's a
hear
little
all the
tease.
time,
It's a tease of a Fred Trump tradition.
and they must not really care because we've talked. I mean, that's the Fred Trump traditions are like one of the most famous things in all of podcasting by now.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe a few people will say, you know what, sir, you convinced me, and that's all you need to do.
Well, Mr. President, thank you again for spending last night with us. And again tonight. You are a very busy man, especially 2024 is right around the corner.
If you are listening, by the way, stay till the end of the show. As I'm just interrupting tech stuff, stay till the end of the show, folks. Important announcements.
That's right. Go to rocketmoney.com/MPGA. You won't be disappointed. They're just going to save you some money. And patreon.com/MPGA. We'd love to see you join us in the live monthly podcasts. And this coming month in March, Elon Musk and Ron Disloyal will be with us. Also, you can check me out on all social media at jnog, and please check out goodieshow.com. And that's all I got. Mr. President, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Hello, people. Hello, people out there. Hello, everybody. It's JL. Just kidding. It was me the whole time. A lot of big shows coming up. Very big. This is like the final month of my comedy career, basically, if you're still listening. Thursday, Montclair, New Jersey. Friday, Boston. Sunday, Fairfield, Connecticut. Okay, so that's this week. After that, we got DC Improv March 19th. We got Philadelphia City Winery March 24th, Princeton Catch a Rising Star March 25th, and then the New Hour taping March 31st and April 1st. Get your tickets if you live anywhere near those places. The shows will be fantastic. Give me a proper send-off before I drown my comedy career in a bathtub, like a Texas mom with mental issues. And that's it, guys. So thank you for listening. Give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts if you haven't, for crying out loud. We got like tens of thousands of listeners. We got 1,587 ratings. That should be like 3,000. And now that I'm done complaining, join Patreon. Thank you for your support. Thanks for listening. Tell a friend about the show. Any of those things help. So do something for the show because we're still going strong. I can't believe it, to be honest. but we're still going strong. Trump is still relevant. I am just at a loss for words with what has happened to my entire comedy career over the last like year and a half. My special still isn't out. I have a Patreon. I have another podcast. You're done listening. Who am I even talking to besides Jay? God help us all.